The emergency alarms screamed through the council chambers. Red lights flashed across every wall. Councillor Vextar floated in his tank, his tentacles shaking with fear. He had lived for 300 years and never heard these alarms before. "The swarm has broken through the outer rim," announced Councillor Hella, her crystalline body pulsing with dark colors. "They consumed the Tycon system in 2 days, 15 billion lives gone." The chamber fell silent. The Galactic Council had kept peace for 10,000 years. Their wars were fought with economics and diplomacy. Their defense fleets existed only for ceremonies and parades. Now something was eating entire star systems, and they had no idea how to stop it. Ambassador Nari Choi sat in Earth's observer seat, watching the council members panic. Earth had applied for membership 7 times. 7 times they were rejected. The reasons were always the same: too violent, too primitive, too dangerous. "We need military options," Vextar said, his voice translator making his words sound hollow. "Does anyone have combat experience?" The council members looked at each other. Some species had not fought a war in 5,000 years. Others had never fought at all. They had forgotten how. Councillor Hella turned her faceted eyes toward Nari. "What about the humans?" The chamber went quiet again. Every council member knew about Earth. They had all read the reports. A Class 12 death world. A planet that tried to kill everything living on it. Gravity that would crush most species. Weather that destroyed cities. Animals that hunted in packs. And the humans who survived it all. Vextar accessed Earth's file. His tentacles curled in disgust as he read. "Humans have been at war for their entire recorded history. Over 14,000 conflicts in the past 6,000 years. They have weapons designed specifically to kill other humans. They created diseases as weapons. They split atoms to destroy cities." "They also applied for council membership," Hella said quietly. 7 times. "And we rejected them 7 times, Vextar replied. "Their military is too large. Their ships carry too many weapons. They are too aggressive, too violent, too exactly what we need right now," Hela interrupted. Nari stood up slowly. She walked down to the council floor, her boots clicking on the smooth surface. Most council species floated or glided. Humans walked on their death world legs, built strong by heavy gravity. "You called my people warmongers," Nari said, her voice calm. "You said our ships were built for violence. You said we were barbaric and primitive. You refused to even consider us civilized." Vextar's tentacles drooped. "Ambassador Choi, You were right," Nari continued. "We are violent. We do build ships for war. We do carry weapons you find disturbing. Do you want to know why?" The council waited. "Because our planet tried to kill us every single day," Nari said. "Earthquakes destroyed our cities. Hurricanes tore apart our coasts. Volcanoes buried entire civilizations. Diseases killed millions. Animals hunted us. Other humans fought us for resources. We learned to fight back, or we died. It's that simple." She pulled up a hologram of Earth. The blue and green planet looked beautiful from space. But the data around it told a different story. Gravity, 2.3 times standard. Atmospheric pressure, dangerous to most species. Tectonic activity, extreme. Weather patterns, deadly. Native life forms, hostile. "We didn't choose to be warriors," Nari said. "Our world made us this way. Every human alive today is descended from survivors. People who refused to give up when everything tried to kill them." Councillor Hela's colors shifted to blue, the color of hope in her species. "Will you help us?" Nari looked at the council members, these peaceful beings who had rejected Earth again and again, who had called humans monsters, who had feared what humans represented. Now they needed those same monsters to save them. "What are you offering?" Nari asked. "Full council membership," Vexitar said quickly. "Access to all our technology. Trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, anything you want. Anything? Nari smiled, but it was not a warm smile. You rejected us for having too many weapons. Now you want those weapons to save you. Yes, Hela said simply. We were wrong. We see that now. Will you help us? Nari tapped her communication device. Connect me to Fleet Command. A hologram appeared. Admiral Jiho Kim stood in his uniform, his face scarred from old battles. His right arm was cybernetic, replaced after the resource wars. He looked exactly like what the Council feared, a soldier born from a violent world. Admiral Kim, Nari said, the Council is requesting military assistance against an existential threat. They're offering full membership and all associated benefits. Jiho's expression didn't change. What's the threat level? They've lost multiple star systems, 15 billion dead. The enemy adapts to their weapons and tactics within hours. The Council fleets are retreating across all fronts. How many hostiles? Unknown. The swarm appears to be a hive intelligence with unlimited numbers. Jiho thought for a moment. Then he looked directly at the Council members. You called us primitive warmongers 7 times. You said our military was unnecessarily violent. You were scared of us. Yes, Vextar admitted. Good, Jiho said. You should be, but we're not your enemy. We'll be there in 3 weeks. Kim out. The hologram disappeared. Nari turned back to the Council. You have your answer. Earth's first expeditionary fleet is on its way. I suggest you prepare your people. Humans fight differently than you're used to. It will be disturbing to watch. How different? Hela asked. Nari thought about how to explain it. These species had never known real war. They had never fought for survival. They didn't understand what humans understood in their bones. When you fight, you try to minimize casualties, Nari said. You seek surrender and negotiation. You value every individual life. Don't humans value life? Vexatar asked. We do, Nari replied. But we learned something on Earth that you never had to learn. Sometimes the only way to save lives is to take them. Sometimes the only way to protect the innocent is to be more dangerous than the threat. You're about to see what 10,000 years of survival on a death world creates. She walked back to her seat, leaving the Council members to process what was coming. In 3 weeks, the Deathworlders would arrive, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Kalor system was dying. 3 planets already turned into barren rocks, stripped of all life. The swarm ships looked like massive insects made of metal and flesh, growing larger as they consumed more matter. Council defense fleets fired their energy weapons, but the swarm adapted within minutes. What worked once never worked twice. Captain Hana Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the tactical display. The human flagship was enormous, 3 kilometers of weapons and armor. Around it, 36 more warships held formation. Each one carried enough firepower to flatten a continent. The Council fleet is retreating again, reported Lieutenant Taeyang Han from the weapons station. Their shields are failing. The swarm is learning their frequencies. Admiral Jiho Kim watched the battle in silence. His cybernetic eye processed the data faster than the computers. He had fought in 12 major conflicts on Earth. He understood warfare in ways these peaceful species never could. Captain Park, analysis, Jiho said. Hana brought up the swarm ship data. They're biological constructs with technological components. Self-repairing, adaptive, intelligent. They've countered every energy weapon the Council uses. Plasma, lasers, particle beams. The swarm adapts within 3 to 5 minutes. What haven't the Council tried? Jiho asked. Kinetic weapons, sir. Missiles. Physical projectiles. Chemical explosives. Jiho smiled coldly. Because they think those are primitive. Yes, sir. Then let's show them what primitive can do. Battle stations. All ships, load kinetic kill vehicles. Prepare nuclear-tipped missiles. Target the 3 largest swarm vessels. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. No panic, no hesitation. Every person on board had trained for combat since they were children. Earth's academies taught warfare alongside mathematics and literature. When your planet tried to kill you daily, you learned to fight back. "Council Command is hailing us," said Communications Officer Rena Kwan. "They want to know our battle plan." "Tell them to stay clear," Jiho replied. "Minimum distance 5,000 kilometers. This is going to get messy." The Indomitable's weapons came online. 20 railguns capable of firing tungsten rods at 40% the speed of light. Missile batteries carrying nuclear warheads. Point defense systems using chemical propellant guns, ancient technology by Council standards, but the swarm had never seen them before. "All ships report ready," Taeyang announced. "Fire!" The human fleet unleashed hell. Railgun rounds crossed the distance in seconds, moving too fast for the swarm to react. The tungsten rods hit with the force of small nuclear weapons, punching through the biological ships like bullets through flesh. The swarm vessels tried to adapt, tried to harden their armor, but physics didn't care about adaptation. Kinetic energy was kinetic energy. Then the missiles arrived. Nuclear fire bloomed in space, electromagnetic pulses frying the swarm's organic circuits. The biological ships tried to heal, but radiation poisoned their regeneration. They tried to adapt to the heat, but the explosions kept coming. "Council observers are calling it barbaric," Rena reported. "They can call it whatever they want," Jiho said. "Are we winning?" "Yes, sir. Enemy vessels are breaking formation. Press the attack. Destroyers, pursuit formation. Target their engines, don't let them escape." Commander Wu commanded the destroyer Vengeance. She watched the swarm ships try to flee and felt something she knew the Council species wouldn't understand: satisfaction. Not joy in killing, but satisfaction in protecting. Her ship accelerated to speeds that would injure most Council species from the G-forces alone. Humans could take it. Deathworld gravity had made their bodies strong. "Target lock achieved," her weapons officer called out. "Fire missiles, pattern Delta." The missiles didn't fly straight. They curved and dodged, using gravity wells and debris fields for cover. Another trick humans learned from fighting each other for thousands of years. The swarm tried to shoot them down, but chemical propellant point defense was harder to track than energy weapons. Explosions rippled across the swarm ship's engines. It tumbled, powerless. "Boarding teams, prepare to deploy," Wu ordered. "Sir, Council protocols prohibit boarding enemy vessels during active combat," her first officer protested. "Council protocols never fought the swarm," Wu replied. "We need intel. We need to know what makes them tick." Sergeant Minji Seo led the boarding team. 20 soldiers in powered armor carrying weapons that would horrify Council observers. Assault rifles, grenades, plasma cutters, and combat knives. The swarm ship had no airlocks, so they cut their way in. Inside, the ship was alive. Walls pulsed like organs. The floor felt warm and wet. Organic systems tried to seal the breach, but human cutting tools were designed to slice through starship armor. Flesh didn't stand a chance. "Contact!" called out Private Junho Lee. Swarm drones emerged from the walls. They looked like a nightmare fusion of insect and machine. Razor claws and energy weapons grafted to biological bodies. They screamed in frequencies that made human bones vibrate. Minji didn't hesitate. "Open fire!" The boarding team's rifles barked, actual chemical explosions, not silent energy weapons. The drones tried to adapt, tried to harden their carapaces, but bullets were simple. Point and shoot. No frequency to adjust to, no energy signature to counter. Just metal moving very fast. When the rifles stopped working, the team switched to plasma cutters at close range. When those failed, they used knives. Humans had been using edged weapons for 50,000 years. They were very good at it. "This is insane," breathed one of the Council observers watching the helmet camera feeds. "They're fighting inside a hostile organism with primitive weapons." "They're winning," another observer noted quietly. Back on the Indomitable, Hana coordinated the fleet battle. The swarm was retreating, unable to counter weapons they had never encountered. The Council fleets watched in shock as the humans chased down every swarm ship, giving no quarter. "Should we let some escape?" Taeyang asked. "For study?" "No," Jiho said flatly. "Every ship that escapes will adapt and return stronger. We kill them all, here and now." "That's extremely aggressive, Day." "Sir, that's survival, Lieutenant. The swarm doesn't negotiate. It doesn't retreat permanently. It consumes and adapts. So we don't give it the chance." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, every swarm ship in the Kalor system was destroyed. The human fleet had suffered damage, 2 destroyers heavily wounded, 1 cruiser with its engines damaged, but no ships lost. The Council fleet commander opened communications with the Indomitable. His species had 4 eyes, all wide with shock. "Admiral Kim, that was effective?" Jiho offered. "Brutal, savage, relentless." "Yes," Jiho agreed. "It was all of those things. It was also necessary. The swarm doesn't respond to warning shots or diplomatic overtures. It's a predator, so we have to be better predators." "I've never seen warfare conducted like that," the Council commander said. "You pursued them. You boarded their ships during combat. You used weapons we haven't seen in thousands of years. You've never fought something that wanted to exterminate you," Jiho replied. "We have. For our entire history, we've fought extinction, sometimes from nature, sometimes from each other, sometimes from both. We learned that if you want to survive, you fight with everything you have. No holding back, no mercy for those who show no mercy." The Council commander was silent for a long moment. "You saved 12 billion lives today. Thank you." "Don't thank us yet," Jiho said. "This was one battle. The swarm is still out there, and now that we've used kinetics and nukes, they'll start adapting to those too. We need to keep moving, keep changing tactics, stay ahead of their adaptation curve." "What do you propose?" "We hunt them," Jiho said simply. "We find their main force, and we destroy it before they can spread further." The Council commander's eyes widened further. "Hunt them? We don't pursue defeated enemies. It's considered barbaric." Admiral Jiho looked at the view screen, at the saved planet below, at the debris field of destroyed swarm ships floating in space. "Then it's a good thing you called the barbarians," he said. The nebula of forgotten stars looked beautiful from a distance. Swirling clouds of gas and dust, lit by dying stars, painted space in colors of purple and orange. Up close, it was a nightmare. Sensor arrays went blind. Communications became spotty. Navigation systems failed. Council ships avoided this region for good reason. Lieutenant Sora Bayek studied the tracking data on the Indomitable's bridge. The swarm fleet had retreated into the nebula after the Battle of Kalor. Smart move. In there, they could hide, repair, and adapt. "The Council wants us to establish a blockade and wait them out," Sora reported. Admiral Jiho shook his head. "Waiting gives them time to adapt. We go in." Captain Hana looked concerned. "Sir, our sensors will be almost useless in there. The nebula's radiation will scramble everything. We'll be flying blind." "Then we use old methods," Jiho said. "Before sensors, how did Earth's navies find enemy submarines?" "Sonar, listening, pattern analysis," Hana replied, understanding dawning. "You want us to track them by their energy signatures and movement patterns." "Exactly. The swarm ships are biological. They generate heat. They disturb the gas clouds when they move. We track the disturbances." Pilot Commander Hyun Lee spoke up from the flight deck. "Admiral, my fighter squadrons can deploy sensor drones throughout the nebula. We use atmospheric entry pods. They're designed to survive planetary atmospheres, so the nebula won't damage them." "Do it," Jiho ordered. "Deploy a grid pattern. I want eyes everywhere the swarm might hide." The human fleet entered the nebula in tactical formation. Council observer ships stayed at the edge, unwilling to risk the hazardous conditions. They watched as human ships disappeared into the colorful clouds. Inside the nebula, visibility dropped to almost zero. The bridge lights on the Indomitable switched to red to preserve night vision, another old Earth technique. The crew worked in near silence, listening to the sensor data rather than watching it. "Contact," Sora called out. "Thermal signature bearing 357, range unknown, moving slow." "Could be debris," suggested Tai Yang. "Could be a swarm ship playing dead," countered Hana. "Send a drone to investigate." Chief Engineer Daehyun Ko had modified the drones with purely optical systems. Old-fashioned cameras and heat sensors. Nothing electronic that the nebula could scramble. The drone approached the thermal signature carefully. "It's a swarm ship," Daehyun reported. "Damaged, repairing itself." "Mark it and move on," Jiho said. "We're looking for the main force, not stragglers." Over the next 3 days, the human fleet played cat and mouse with the swarm in the nebula. Every encounter taught them something new. The swarm had learned. They had adapted their armor to resist kinetic impacts better. Their point defense could now track chemical propellant weapons. The easy victories were over. "They're learning from us," Hana said during a strategy meeting. "Every tactic we use, they counter it within hours." "Then we need to think faster than they can adapt," Jiho replied. "What works against an enemy that learns?" Medical officer Dr. Sumin Yoon, who had been treating wounded from multiple species, spoke up. "On Earth, when bacteria adapt to antibiotics, what do we do?" "We use different antibiotics," Hana said. "We rotate treatments so they can't develop resistance to any single one." "Exactly," Sumin smiled. "We need to keep changing tactics. Never use the same approach twice in a row." Pilot Commander Hyun implemented this in the fighter squadrons. His pilots would strike with missiles, then switch to railguns, then use electronic warfare, then chemical weapons, constantly rotating. The swarm could adapt to one tactic, but by the time they did, the humans had switched to another. But it wasn't enough. The swarm was learning the pattern. They began adapting faster, predicting what humans would do next. Then came the ambush. The swarm had hidden ships in the densest parts of the nebula, waiting. When the destroyer Retribution passed by, they struck from all sides. Captain Yoonji Nam tried to maneuver, but there was no room. Swarm ships crashed into her vessel, trying to board it. "All ships converge on Retribution's position," Jiho ordered. But the nebula slowed response times. By the time help arrived, Retribution was being torn apart. Captain Yoonji made a choice. She pointed her ship at the largest swarm vessel and pushed her engines to maximum. "All hands, abandon ship," she ordered. "Escape pods now. I'm going to ram them." "Captain, you can't," her first officer protested. "I can, and I will," Yoonji said calmly. "Get our people out. That's an order." The crew evacuated. Yoonji stayed at the helm, manually steering because the computers were failing. She watched the swarm ship grow larger in her view screen. At the last second, she armed every missile remaining on her ship. The impact destroyed both vessels. The explosion lit up the entire nebula for a few seconds, bright enough to be seen from outside. The human fleet went silent. Yoonji had been a good captain, a good officer, a good person. She had made the hard choice, the soldier's choice, one life to save many. "Rescue teams, recover all escape pods," Jiho ordered quietly. "Then we find the swarm's main force. Captain Nam bought us time. We don't waste it." The hunt continued, but the mood had changed. This wasn't a game anymore. The swarm was dangerous, adaptable, and learning. Humans were taking casualties. Lieutenant Jimin Huang took command of the damaged cruiser Defiant after its captain was killed in a skirmish. She was young, barely 30, but she had grown up on Earth. She understood what was at stake. "Sir, we're not going to win by outfighting them," Jimin reported to Admiral Jiho during a tactical briefing. They adapt too fast. We need to outthink them. Suggestions? Jiho asked. Find their command ship. The swarm is a hive mind, right? There must be a central intelligence coordinating everything. Kill that, and the rest should fall apart. Sora pulled up data from the sensor drone network. If there's a command ship, it would need to be large, very large, and it would be sending constant signals to coordinate the fleet. Can we track those signals in the nebula? Hana asked. Not electronic signals, Daehyun said. But biological signals, maybe. The swarm uses organic communication. Pheromones, probably, or something similar. We could track chemical trails through the gas clouds. It was a long shot, but it was something. The fleet deployed specialized sensors designed to detect organic compounds. It took 2 more days of searching, but finally, they found it. Deep in the heart of the nebula, hidden behind layers of gas and radiation, was something massive. The sensor readings were unclear, but the size estimate was terrifying. At least 10 kilometers long, possibly bigger. It was old, ancient even, its hull scarred by countless battles across the centuries. That's not just a command ship, breathed Hana. That's the source, the original swarm vessel. How long has it been out here? Taeyang wondered. Thousands of years, probably, Sora replied. Drifting through space, consuming civilizations, growing stronger. Admiral Jiho studied the readings. This was it. The Queen, the mothership, the brain of the swarm. Destroy it, and the threat ends. Fail, and the swarm would likely overwhelm the entire fleet. All ships battle formation, Jiho ordered. We're going in. Target that big ship with everything we have. Sir, Hana said quietly, we're going to take heavy losses. I know, Jiho replied. But what choice do we have? If we run, it follows. If we wait, it gets stronger. The only way out is through. He opened a fleet-wide channel. Every human crew member, every soldier, every pilot heard his next words. This is Admiral Kim. Ahead of us is the source of the swarm, a ship that has been consuming civilizations for longer than recorded history. It's old, it's powerful, and it's learned from every species it's destroyed. Fighting it will cost lives, maybe many lives. But if we don't fight, if we run, it will keep killing. Billions will die. Maybe trillions. So we fight. We fight because that's what humans do. We fight because someone has to. We fight because we're the only ones who can. For Earth, for the Council, for every life in this galaxy, we fight. The fleet moved forward into the nebula's heart. The ancient swarm ship waited, surrounded by hundreds of smaller vessels. The final battle was about to begin. The ancient swarm ship detected the human fleet immediately. It had survived for millennia by being smart, adaptable, and ruthless. It released hundreds of smaller vessels, each one a product of countless absorbed technologies. The swarm descended on the human fleet like a living storm. Captain Hana watched her tactical display fill with red markers. Enemy contacts numbering 743, all converging on our position. All batteries, fire at will, Admiral Jiho commanded. Don't let them surround us. The Indomitable's weapons blazed. Railguns fired constantly, their tungsten rounds carving through swarm vessels. Missiles spiraled out in complex patterns, detonating in brilliant flashes. Point defense guns tracked smaller drones, filling space with tracer fire. It looked like chaos, but every shot was calculated, every firing angle planned. But the swarm had learned. Their ships dodged railgun fire using erratic patterns. They deployed chaff that confused missile guidance systems. They absorbed nuclear radiation and converted it to energy. Every tactic humans used, the swarm countered within minutes. They're adapting faster than before, Taeyang reported. Much faster. The mothership is coordinating them, Hana realized. It's processing our tactics in real time and distributing countermeasures to the entire fleet. Destroyer Perseus, commanded by Captain Bora Song. broke formation to intercept a wave of swarm kamikaze vessels. Her ship's guns fired non-stop, destroying dozens, but there were too many. One got through. "Brace for impact!" Bora shouted. The swarm ship struck Perseus at near-light speed. The explosion was catastrophic. The destroyer broke in half, atmosphere venting into space, fires burning in the oxygen-rich compartments. There were no survivors. The fleet watched in horror. 700 crew members gone in an instant. "Perseus is lost," Sora reported, her voice shaking. "Multiple hull breaches, life signs 0. Admiral Jiho closed his eyes for a second. Just 1 second to acknowledge the loss. Then he opened them again. "Continue engagement. Honor their sacrifice by finishing this." Lieutenant Jimin Huang, commanding the cruiser Defiant, saw swarm ships targeting the civilian evacuation transports that Council species had sent to the edge of the nebula. Those ships carried 3 billion refugees, families fleeing the war zone. They had no weapons, no armor, just desperate people hoping to survive. "Target those swarm ships heading for the transports," Jimin ordered. "Ma'am, we'd have to leave formation," her tactical officer warned. "We'll be exposed." "I don't care," Jimin said. "Those are civilians. We protect them. That's the job." Defiant accelerated toward the swarm ships, all guns firing. She destroyed the lead vessels, buying time for the transports to escape. But breaking formation left her vulnerable. Swarm ships swarmed around Defiant, tearing at her shields. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 9, Damage Control reported. "Shields at 15%. Engine room is venting plasma." Jimin knew her ship was dying. She also knew the transports were almost clear. Just a few more seconds. "Reroute all remaining power to weapons," she ordered. "Everything we have. One last shot." The cruiser's final missile salvo destroyed the swarm ships threatening the transports. The evacuation ships jumped to hyperspace. 3 billion lives saved. Defiant tumbled through space, powerless and broken. "Abandon ship," Jimin ordered. "All hands to escape pods. Move." The crew evacuated, but Jimin stayed behind, making sure everyone got out. She was the last one in the escape pod when a secondary explosion tore through Defiant's reactor. The blast caught her pod, damaging it. She made it out, but barely. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Jiho watched his fleet take losses. 2 destroyers gone. 3 cruisers heavily damaged. Hundreds dead, thousands wounded. But they were holding the line, and the swarm mothership was still intact. "We can't win a straight fight," Hana said. "The mothership is too well protected, and it keeps adapting faster than we can develop new tactics." "Then we don't fight straight," Jiho replied. "We board it. We go inside and kill it from within." The bridge went quiet. Boarding the mothership was suicide. It would be like entering a living organism designed to kill intruders. Nothing survived inside a swarm vessel for long. "I'll lead the team," Jiho said. "Sir, you can't—" Hana started to protest. "I can and I will," Jiho interrupted. "I'm asking people to die for this mission. I won't ask them to do something I'm not willing to do myself." "Then I'm coming too," Hana said firmly. "No. The fleet needs a commander. If I die in there, you take over. That's an order, Captain." Jiho opened a fleet-wide channel. "All personnel with hostile environment combat experience, report to Shuttle Bay 3. This is a volunteer mission. High risk, high importance. We're going inside that thing to plant explosives. No guarantees we'll make it back." Within 5 minutes, 200 soldiers volunteered. Jiho could only take 20. He chose the best, veterans of Earth's worst conflicts, people who had fought in toxic atmospheres, crushing gravity, and zero-G combat. Sergeant Sung Kong checked his armor seals. He had fought in the Jupiter Station Rebellion, the Titan War, and the resource conflicts. This would be his hardest mission yet. Specialist Yuna Im loaded her demolition charges carefully. Each one was a fusion bomb, powerful enough to tear apart a city block. She carried 12. Corporal Minho Ryu, the team medic, packed extra supplies. He knew there would be casualties. There always were. His job was to make sure they didn't die alone. The assault shuttle launched from Indomitable, flying through a storm of weapons fire. The swarm tried to shoot it down, but the rest of the fleet provided covering fire. Missiles and railgun rounds created a path through the chaos. 30 seconds to contact, the pilot announced. The shuttle slammed into the mothership's hull. Cutting lasers burned through the organic armor. The boarding team dropped into darkness, their helmet lights the only illumination. Inside the mothership, everything was alive. The walls pulsed like a heartbeat. Fluids dripped from the ceiling. The air was toxic, acidic enough to eat through regular suits in minutes. Good thing they weren't wearing regular suits. "Move fast," Jiho ordered. "The ship knows we're here. It'll try to digest us." The team moved deeper into the vessel. The corridor walls contracted, trying to crush them. Immune system organisms, things that looked like a nightmare fusion of scorpion and centipede, emerged from the walls to attack. The team's weapons barked, filling the narrow spaces with gunfire and explosions. Private Sana'an was grabbed by a wall tentacle. It pulled her toward a sphincter-like opening filled with digestive enzymes. Sergeant Seung cut her free with his plasma sword, the blade slicing through organic tissue easily. "Thanks," Sana gasped. "Keep moving," Seung replied. They fought for hours, pushing deeper into the mothership. The ship fought back with everything it had: crushing walls, acidic sprays, attack organisms, even nerve gas. The team's numbers dwindled. 12 soldiers made it to the central chamber. 8 were dead or too wounded to continue. The central chamber was massive, a biological cathedral filled with pulsing organs and neural tissue. This was the brain, the heart, the soul of the swarm. This was what coordinated millions of vessels across hundreds of star systems. "Plant the charges," Jiho ordered. "We have 10 minutes before our suits fail." Specialist Yuna moved quickly, placing fusion bombs throughout the chamber. Each bomb was set to detonate simultaneously, ensuring complete destruction. But the mothership realized what they were doing. The chamber walls began secreting a thick amber substance, trying to encase the humans and preserve them for study. "Move faster!" Jiho shouted. The amber was rising, already waist-deep on some soldiers. Corporal Minho pulled Private Junho Lee from the sticky substance, his arm servos whining with effort. "Last charge in place," Yuna reported. "We've got to go now." The team retreated, fighting through immune organisms that grew larger and more aggressive. The mothership was throwing everything at them, trying to stop them from escaping. Sergeant Seung held a choke point with just his combat knife when his rifle jammed. 3 creatures attacked him at once. He killed 2, but the third tore through his armor. He went down, bleeding. "Leave me," Seung gasped. "Get the Admiral out." "Not happening," Minho said, injecting Seung with combat drugs and sealing the wound with emergency foam. "You're coming home." They reached the extraction point with 90 seconds on the detonation timer. The assault shuttle was there, engines hot, ready to go. The team piled in, some carrying wounded, others providing covering fire. "Go! Go! Go!" Jiho shouted to the pilot. The shuttle launched just as the timer hit 0. Behind them, the mothership erupted in white fire. 12 fusion bombs detonating simultaneously tore the ancient vessel apart from the inside. The explosion was visible throughout the nebula. The swarm fleet, suddenly without central coordination, stopped. The vessels drifted, confused, unable to function without the mothership's guidance. The human fleet destroyed them methodically, one by one. It was over. The swarm was broken. The human fleet limped back to Council space. 9 ships lost. 4,000. 217 personnel dead. Another 6,000 wounded. Medical officer Dr. Sumin Yoon worked around the clock, treating injuries from all species. Human soldiers with radiation burns. Council observers with psychological trauma from witnessing the brutality of war. She saved who she could and mourned those she couldn't. The council had prepared a grand ceremony at their capital station. Billions watched on holographic displays across hundreds of worlds. They wanted to honor the humans who saved the galaxy. Admiral Ji-Ho Kim stood on the observation deck of the Indomitable, looking at the damage to his ship. Scorch marks covered the hull. Entire sections were open to space, sealed with emergency force fields. But she flew. That was what mattered. Captain Hannah Park joined him, her arm in a medical brace from an injury during the final battle. "The council is waiting for us, sir. The ceremony begins in an hour." "I know," Ji-Ho said quietly. "How many funerals have we held?" 347, sir. We're still identifying remains from Perseus and Defiant." 347, Ji-Ho repeated. 347 families who will never see their loved ones again. And the council wants to give me a medal. "Sir, those people died saving billions of lives. That means something." "Does it?" Ji-Ho turned to face her. "Does it mean something to Private Jun-Ho Lee's mother? To Captain Bora Song's children? To Sergeant Seong Kang, who's paralyzed from the waist down now?" Hannah chose her words carefully. "It means they didn't die for nothing. It means their sacrifice protected people who couldn't protect themselves. That's what soldiers do, sir. You taught me that." Ji-Ho sighed. "I'm just tired, Captain, tired of war, tired of losing people. We left Earth to explore the stars, to find peace out here. Instead, we found another war. We found people who needed help," Hannah corrected. "And we helped them. That's not nothing." The ceremony was held in the Council's Grand Hall, a massive space station that could hold representatives from all member species. Admiral Ji-Ho and his senior officers stood on a platform while Councilor Vextar spoke to the assembled billions. For 10,000 years, the Council maintained peace through diplomacy and understanding, Vextar said, his tentacles gesturing gracefully. "We believed that rational beings could resolve any conflict through dialogue. We were wrong. When the swarm came, we had no answer. We were helpless." He turned toward the human delegation. "The humans came from a world we called a death world, a planet so hostile that merely surviving requires constant struggle. We rejected them because we feared what such a harsh environment created. We were right to fear, but wrong to reject. The humans didn't bring violence to the galaxy. They brought the strength that comes from enduring violence, the courage born from facing death, the will to protect others that comes from knowing what it means to need protection." Councilor Hela stepped forward, her crystalline body glowing with warm colors. "Admiral Ji-Ho Kim, on behalf of the Galactic Council and the 12 billion lives you saved, we grant Earth full membership in our alliance. We also offer you a position on the Defense Committee, the first non-council species to hold such a role." The hall erupted in cheers from 100 different species, but Admiral Ji-Ho didn't smile. He simply nodded. "I accept on behalf of Earth and humanity," he said. "But I have conditions." The hall went quiet. No one made demands at a council ceremony. "First," Ji-Ho continued, "every species in this alliance will establish a proper military. Not ceremonial fleets, not parade ships, real warships with real weapons, because the swarm won't be the last threat you face. Second, you will train your people in combat operations. We will help, but you must commit to learning. Peace is precious, but you can't keep peace if you can't defend it. Third, you will remember the cost. 4,000 humans died so your people could live. Don't waste that sacrifice by going back to pretending violence doesn't exist. Evil exists in this galaxy. Acknowledge it. Prepare for it." Vextar's tentacles curled in what might have been agreement. "Your terms are acceptable, Admiral, though I suspect teaching Council species to think like soldiers will be challenging." "Everything worth doing is challenging. Jiho replied. Ambassador Nari Choi stepped forward to address the council. Earth is honored to join this alliance, but Admiral Kim is right. You need to understand what you're getting. Humans aren't peaceful by nature. We cooperate because alone we fail. We innovate because stagnation means death. We fight because we've learned that sometimes fighting is the only option. If you want us to teach you these things, you need to be ready for hard lessons. We're ready, Gila said. We've seen what happens when we're not prepared. We won't make that mistake again. Over the following months, integration began. Human officers were assigned to Council Defense Forces. Captain Hana ran tactical simulations with Council commanders, teaching them to think in 3 dimensions, to anticipate enemy moves, to accept calculated risks. Chief Engineer Dae-hyun Ko worked with Council shipyards, showing them how to build redundant systems, how to repair battle damage in the field, how to improvise when perfect solutions weren't available. Dr. Sumin Yoon established trauma care protocols, training Council medical personnel to handle mass casualties and battlefield injuries. Many Council species had never even seen serious injury before. Learning to treat them was emotionally difficult. But the biggest change came when the Council formally requested that Earth establish a military academy on the homeworld. They wanted their officers to train where humans trained, to experience the environment that created the warriors who saved them. Lieutenant Taeyang Han was assigned to coordinate the program. He met the first class of Council cadets at Earth's orbital station, 40 beings from 20 species, all volunteers, all looking nervous. Welcome to Earth, Taeyang said. Before we begin, you need to understand something. This planet will be the hardest challenge you've ever faced. The gravity will hurt. You'll be tired all the time. The weather is dangerous. The native life forms evolved to kill. Some of you will want to quit. That's okay. This isn't about making you into humans. It's about showing you what shaped us, so you understand how to defend yourselves. A young Valonian cadet raised a tentacle. Why train on Earth? Why not somewhere safer? Because safe doesn't teach you what you need to learn, Taeyang replied. Earth teaches you that survival takes effort, that cooperation is essential, that adaptation is constant. These are the lessons that kept humanity alive. Now they'll help keep the Council alive too. The first week was brutal. Cadets struggled with the gravity, even in the reduced gravity training zones. They were terrified of Earth's weather. A simple rainstorm seemed apocalyptic to species from stable, controlled environments. One cadet broke down crying when she saw her first predatory animal, a common wolf in a protected reserve. But they didn't quit, not one. By the end of the first month, they were adapting. They learned to move in heavy gravity. They studied Earth's history of warfare, understanding how scarcity drives conflict and cooperation. They trained with weapons, reluctantly at first, then with growing competence. Lieutenant Jimin Huang, recovered from her injuries, taught a class on tactical decision-making. She used the defense of the evacuation transports as a case study. I had a choice, she told the cadets. Stay in formation where it was safe, or break formation to protect civilians. I chose the civilians. My ship was destroyed. Many of my crew died. Was it the right choice? The cadets debated. Some said yes, saving civilians was always right. Others said no, losing a warship weakened the fleet. Both sides had good arguments. There is no perfect answer, Jimin finally said. War is full of impossible choices. You do your best, you live with the consequences, and you keep going. That's what being a soldier means. Sometimes you sacrifice yourself so others don't have to. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Jiho received a report from Earth Command. The Council wanted to commission a memorial for the humans who died fighting the swarm. They asked for input on the design. Jiho thought about all the people he'd lost. Good people, brave people, people who deserved to grow old, to see their families, to live in peace. Instead, they died in the cold darkness of space, fighting monsters. Tell them to make it simple, Jiho said to Captain Hana. Just the names. All 4,217 of them. No grand speeches, no heroic statues. Just their names, so people remember they were real people who made a choice to protect others. Yes, sir, Hana said. Then, quietly, do you think we made a difference? Will the council really change? Jiho looked out at council space, at the thousands of worlds now under human protection, at the billions of lives continuing because humans had said yes when asked for help. I don't know if they'll change permanently, he admitted. Fear fades. People forget. But for now, they understand that peace requires strength. That's enough. We plant the seeds now, and maybe future generations will maintain what we built. 6 months after the Battle of the Nebula, the memorial was unveiled. 4,217 names, carved in a monument orbiting the council capital. Representatives from every saved world attended the ceremony. Admiral Jiho stood before the memorial with his surviving crew. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. The names said everything. Lieutenant Sora Bayek read from a list. Captain Bora Song, Destroyer Perseus, died defending the fleet. Captain Yunji Nam, Cruiser Defiant, died protecting civilian evacuees. Sergeant Seung Kang, First Boarding Team, paralyzed defending his team. Name after name, honor after honor, each one a person, each one a choice to stand between danger and the innocent. When the ceremony ended, a young council officer approached Admiral Jiho. She wore the uniform of the new Council Defense Force, a military that actually meant something now. Sir, I trained at Earth Academy, she said. I wanted to thank you. Before the swarm, I was a civilian. I never thought about war or defense. Now I understand. Someone has to stand guard so others can sleep peacefully. Thank you for teaching us that. Jiho nodded. Just remember what you learned and teach others. That's how peace survives, when enough people are willing to defend it. The officer saluted and left. Jiho turned to Hana. Come on, Captain. Let's go home. I think Earth has earned some peace and quiet. For how long? Hana asked. However long it lasts, Jiho replied. We'll enjoy it while we can, and when the next crisis comes, and it will come, we'll be ready, because that's what Deathworlders do. We survive, we adapt, we protect, always. The Indomitable turned toward Earth, carrying home the warriors who saved a galaxy. Behind them, the Council began the long work of building a real defense. The humans had shown them the way. Class was in session, and the lessons would last forever.